Tonight I'm going to talk about the environment. And I'm talking about it from Texas, which a lot of people may not realize is the number one renewable energy producer in the country with 30% of our total energy for the largest state in the country except for Alaska. And I'm proud of that. I'm for renewable energy. But then again, we also produce a lot of energy. The number one energy producer in the country. And now, right lately, the state's kind of been under fire for a number of reasons. I guess because of the oil industry, which is also a big part of this, and the biggest reason why the renewable energy is so strong here is those oil companies are the ones that are doing it. They're switching. They're the ones that are switching to the way they're doing. They're just not giving them enough time to get it done. Because right now, as far as I can tell, without the Green New Deal, they were putting up those wind farms as fast as they could put them up, and still are. And they look like they work pretty good. They're all over the place now, and I'm all for that. We get our electricity from renewable energy, so that's kind of cool. But tonight I'm going to talk about the environment and some of the things that I know about it. And if you know more about it than I do, which is very possible, I'd like to hear about it.
Let's face it, when I was back in the 70s, they were talking about the ice caps melting and the earth that it would raise the ocean's levels to a point where all the major cities and nearly all the major cities in the world would be underwater. Well, that hadn't happened, and I don't know if anybody's looked, but the ice caps are almost gone. And so here's the argument. You hear news channels, they sit there and they say, science says, follow the science. Scientists say that if we don't do these drastic measures in the next 10 years, we're all doomed. And okay, then tell me which scientist it is and what proof do they have that what they're saying is going to happen. That's what I want, and that's not what we're getting. I mean, the media talks to us like we're children or something. They don't want us to know anything. But let's put it this way. I heard that there's over 200 scientists in the world that believe that doom and gloom and global warming is going to ruin the earth in the next couple of years if we don't do something drastic. Yeah, 200. You know how many scientists there are in the world? 8.8 million. And out of 8.8 million, 200 isn't even a fraction of a percent. So I don't see how that somebody's saying the earth is going to end and only a fraction of the people, scientists, agree with that. So, because a lot of people believe it's other things. And for an example, the earth, we've been tracking the weather for about 160 years or something like that. And before then, really they knew some things that happened because of, storms and things that dropped trees and they grew back and, that type of thing. But really, they don't really have any idea whatsoever what the earth is capable of naturally, and what kind of cycles the earth goes through. It's been here for over 5 billion years. So something got rid of the dinosaurs. I mean, conflicted on that, on how they disappeared. So, it could be just the earth doing its thing, And another thing that they're saying it could be is the axes of the earth, the north and south pole, and it makes it so the earth kind of sets at an angle and it spins around in circles. Anyway, they said I saw a study on this about the poles shifting, and they say that the reason why they know, and it happened before 5,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, the poles of the earth shifted. And when the poles of the earth shift, it makes deserts into lakes and lakes into deserts. So geographically, the weather is going to change dramatically in certain areas. I mean, the polar ice caps are going to move to wherever those negative and positive poles, because the tilt of the earth is basically what makes it so that summer and winter. But so it could be the poles, and they say that we're in that state right now. And they say before the poles, and how they know that is through pottery. That they found that there's pottery it has a magnetic field to it, and that magnetic field was pointing in a certain direction, like it would be going toward the North or South Pole. And then they noticed that pottery suddenly shifted, and the North and South Pole were in another area. Now, I don't know how far it's going to shift. Let's hope it doesn't shift thousands of miles. It could just shift 20 miles. I don't know. I'm not that in depth into it, but it's something that could be happening, because they say right now it's wobbling, and that would cause drastic weather changes. So it could be that too. So there's a lot of things, and a lot of people don't believe that we can actually do anything to hurt the environment. Well, I don't think that's true, because I saw another study about ice in the ice caps, in the North and South Pole, and how they're melting. And even though it's cold enough for them to freeze and snow and all that stuff, there's a soot that's being cast around the world, and that soot's landing on top of that snow. And when it does, the snow melts even when it's below zero, because of the heat that the smog is creating. Now, that is definitely man-made. And but I also don't think we should cripple our economy to do this, because there's really not that much proof that it's really happening. And I'd like to see more proof. If somebody can show me more proof, I'd like to see it. More about the environment. If everybody doesn't do it, then you aren't doing anything. Because even if you take the United States and Europe, for example, and you all go green, but you let Asia predominantly go without having to do anything, well, that's where everything is made, is in Asia. So if you're talking about, the best thing we could do, in my opinion, is to cut off trade with these countries until they've decided they wanted to go green, right? But I don't think it's a good idea for us to go green when they don't, because all that's going to do is take our companies and they're going to move there so they can pollute. So really, you're not doing anything. You're just moving the pollution somewhere else, but we all live on the same planet, so you're not getting away with anything. And if we could stop trading with these countries that don't want to cooperate, that want to continue to pollute, well, that would make them not pollute, because all of a sudden they wouldn't have anything anymore. Nobody wanted to do business with them, even though Europe, the United States, and all of our allies probably only make up a third of the Earth's population. It's a powerful third of the Earth's population. And so I don't see crippling our economy to make it so the Chinese, well, and here's another thing. We send this green energy thing, right? Where they want to build have electric cars, and they want to have solar panels for everything. Well, I tell you something, all that shit is made in China. The car batteries for these electric cars are made in China. And they own all the natural resources and everything to make these batteries and to make these solar panels. So really, when they did the Green New Deal, what they were really doing is handing a buttload of money to China. So if anybody's been keeping China flush which they're having a lot of problems there, it's our government. And probably Joe Biden. He's probably indebted to him. So the Green New Deal is a great thing for them, even though they keep building coal-burning power plants as fast as they can do it, which is really bad for the environment. And you know, and that's another thing where you talk about 200 scientists that say the Earth is going to end. Well, there's 1.4 billion Chinese, and they're one of the most technologically advanced countries in the world, and they're building coal-burning power plants as fast as they could do it. They also have a place where they said they can live for 150 years. So it doesn't sound like somebody that wants to destroy the Earth, you know, even though that's, unless you're really not doing that much impact to the Earth. And I say the jury's still out. And somebody, hey, if there's anybody out there that's got some proof, undisputable proof that if we don't, you know, stop everything, stop eating meat, stop everything, you know, that the whole world's going to come crumbling down around us, I doubt it. But I tell you something, that if that is the case, we should have thought about this 50 years ago. I mean, when I was a kid, we were talking about the greenhouse. We were talking about the greenhouse effect, that, you know, and the ice caps are going to melt and all that stuff, you know. So that was 50 years ago. I mean, and yeah, we've done some stuff in that past 50 years in our country anyway. You know, smog machines for cars and catalytic converters and lots of things that we've done to clean up the environment. We also made that thing so that American companies had a polluting thing. But of course, that polluting thing was a bad thing for America because it drove companies out of our country. And even though they're moving out of China right now, they're just moving down the road to Vietnam, which is also a communist country. I guess we can't get away from using slave labor. Got to have that slave labor, right? But don't worry, we're letting a bunch of illegal aliens come into our country. Slave labor. Anyway, that's America. One last thing about the environment. If they really wanted to do something to change the Earth, that's something I see that we could really do something about, and it would go a lot farther than anything they're trying to press, and that's quit making things to break. Everything that is made these days is specifically designed to break after a certain period of time so that you have to replace it with a new one. There used to be stuff like in the 60s where things lasted forever. A Kirby vacuum cleaner is 45 years they last. And you know, right now with the technology that we have in the world, we could make things last forever. You could take a razor, one of those little cheap disposable razors, and they could make that thing have a blade that would never get dull. And that means it would last forever. And no more plastic razors going into the landfills and oceans. See, because what you're really doing when you're doing this making things to break thing, you're using up the Earth's resources, which is, you know, not endless, and using the Earth's resources at a record pace. Not only a record pace, but a pace that continues to outpace itself. So faster and faster we are burning up the Earth's resources to make these things that we end up throwing in a landfill. So what we're doing, and not to mention all the pollution that's involved into creating these products. So if you really want to do something about the environment, that would be a nice place to start. Start making it so that things had to have lifetime warranties or something like that, so that, you know, that they'd have to start making things last for a long, long, long time. And I know that eventually there's no profit in that, but if you want to do something to save the Earth, that would be a really good starting place. Not to mention, I wouldn't mind getting a few things that last. I mean, it seems like everything nowadays, as soon as you take it out of the package, it breaks. So anyway, that's where we're at these days. And that's all I have to say about the environment. Peace, love, and everybody enjoy the Earth.
and hopefully you'll be here for a long time.